Welcome to Stitch Panda Podcast, a podcast created to share insight, opinions, tips, and advice in the world of fashion, style, sewing, and creative business. I'm your host, Chelsea, fashion designer, and owner of faith-based women's boutique Vine and Branch Collective. Hi there, and welcome to Stitch Panda Podcast. I'm your host, Chelsea, and today we're going to be talking about the recent pandemic of COVID-19 and how fashion has responded to it. Before we dive in, let me tell you about Anchor. Anchor is the easiest way to make and host a podcast. For example, the app allows you to record, edit, and publish all in one place. Anchor will also distribute your podcast to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other listening services. You can also make money with no minimum listenership. And my favorite part is, it's free. Absolutely free. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. I tried to record this episode with a different app to see the differences between the two and which one I liked better. So I am back on Anchor right now using it. I recorded my entire episode and didn't like exactly how it came out. And I also didn't like that I couldn't save the actual audio file because I know I said previously I have audio software on my laptop. So if I can't get the exact editing that I want in the app, I can now edit on my laptop. So I am re-recording this episode. Bear with me. This is fashion's response to COVID-19. The fashion industry was hit very hard from COVID-19. And in that way, it had to change and evolve and come up with some, coping mechanisms to survive. So some of the changes include the way editors and buyers are viewing clothing. Editors are now viewing online or through digital showrooms, digital runway, having, everyone's used to the Zoom call now, so they're, doing that with live with runway. And that is just, they're doing their part to reduce, contact with people, and so, reduce the spread, and of course nobody else wants to get sick. So, with that being said, it's changing the way predictions are made, it's changing the way buyers are viewing what they want to purchase, because they're not seeing things in person firsthand. And of course, a picture of something or even a video of something is completely different of how you see it in real life. With that also being said, on the design aspect as well, there's a lot of changes going on there. Designers are incorporating protective wear into their ensembles now. Quite a few runway shows have had face masks, different types of face masks, but of course you can see cloth surgical masks that are being worn, gloves, which you don't necessarily have to wear them as long as you're wearing a mask. That CDC says, that's good enough. But you've seen all type of woven gloves, eye protection, of different types of headwear and face masks. And it seems like that seems to be the direction of how everything is going. On a side note, I feel like 30 years ago, maybe even 40 or 50 years ago, when everyone thought about the future and thought about 2020 and thought about, where we would be, everyone thought, we'd be living in space and driving hover cars and wearing all these weird futuristic protective clothings, because we'll be living on Mars or something. And I personally feel that 2020 is pushing us in that direction of where fashion is trying to evolve into more of just a statement, more of just an expression of what you are, more of just a collective acceptable thing to do, but actually into the functional and, protective aspect of it. So I feel like it is kind of forcing us to start moving into that futuristic world. Also, what we've had seen in the runways going on right now is fashion is basically having a spring redo. So the color palettes, which are usually jewel tones or more warmer tones and somber looks, are now brighter. There's a lot of pastels. There's a lot of florals. There are a lot of unusual fabrics for what would be considered normal in the fall or the winter, more of the corduroys and the wools. They've actually shied away from those and are doing fully lined items so that it can retain some of the heat, and thinner fabrics can be more protective for the season. Sorry, I'm trying to put my phone on Do Not Disturb so we don't get any extra sounds in the background. There we go. Perfect. I already, filmed this or recorded this episode, so I'm trying to just kind of breeze through it because it took up a lot of time to do that, and it didn't turn out exactly how I wanted to with the other software that I was using. So not quite happy with that, but we'll see. I'm pretty sure I can still use what I was doing and incorporate it somehow, but just not right now. Okay, so fashion, having a spring redo. Yeah, there are a lot of things that you would normally see for, spring and summer, and they're now transitioning into, fall and winter, and then maybe even some pre-spring or early spring, which is usually more of a winter look that carries over into the next year. But with this, it's actually going to be like we're extending the spring, because most people were in lockdown. The whole country went into a kind of stay at home. They did it at different times, but spring break was basically canceled. We live out here in Florida, and all our beaches were closed. So people were really missing that. And now that we're able to go back out into the world, we're gonna pick up right where we left off. What it's looking like. Usually runway shows are to express an image or a message, along with traditionally it's supposed to be for editorial work, for magazines, for trend forecasting, and in the most important part, it was originally for buyers. It was a way to show your clothing, your product of what you're selling to buyers, so they can either have it in their store, or for the lucky elite, they would, purchase directly from the runway, and I would have a runway ensemble or a one-of-a-kind piece. So it doesn't look like it's going to be that anymore. It's really just for the imagery and the message, and basically like a theme board or a mood board come to life. You really can't set trends without public displays like those on the catwalk. So if someone's not going to be there in person to actually witness what is happening and how the fabrics are moving and how the light is hitting something, then it's going to really be hard to, predict those things. And for editors of all these fashion publications, I feel like they're really going to have a hard time with trending what's happening in the future. Of course, there's ways of doing it with color and pictures and imagery, but you really have to be there to kind of see, to pick up on those notes. And it's a trained eye to see what is, starting to trend and what will pick up and what will snowball. Usually how the fashion pyramid works is the designers and, the top name brands create the strong trends that then trickle down to the rest of the base of the pyramid. And I've actually kind of seen that in reverse. Every once in a while you'll see these street trends that take over, and with COVID-19 the first ones to respond were the home sewers and the small business designers and things of those nature, the customer the custom creative businesses like special occasion gowns like ball gowns, wedding gowns, prom gowns, things like that. A lot of these sewers decided to start incorporating protective wear first and to switch off from what they were doing to create masks when there was a mask shortage. So I do see a lot of the reverse pyramid flow, which I actually think is a good thing. I think the people who are wearing the clothes and who are styling the clothes and who are the ones who are making the immediate influence of people should be the ones who leading the fashion industry, and it should be a collective thing, because fashion is honestly is what's just acceptable in terms of clothing and appearance. The closures and the shutdowns of all the states stalled the cash flow from buyers, and it has affected the growth from for businesses and production like manufacturers. The fashion industry has been affected from the very beginning because it was not considered a essential business. So a lot of designers, a lot of boutiques were on shutdown. This week alone, I've seen so many boutiques announce that they were closing or going out of business, or at least having to change the way their business usually operates. There's one brand that instead of having a boutique, like a physical boutique you can go to, they're going to just mainly operate online now. And it's lucky enough for them that they still had a strong client base to where they can do that. Or it just may be that they're just fighting off, the pandemic, and they're trying not to allow it to, destroy their business, and they're going to push through regardless. But unfortunately, they don't have the customer base right now that can support a physical store. And some people have cut their losses and decided to close up shop, and some people are trying to push through. My boutique is mainly online, so we've been affected. We have been affected. I'd say it is on the minimal side. We still have some buyers online, but what we were trying to do this year is travel and do pop-up shops statewide. Many have been canceled or postponed. So either canceled completely or postponed until further notice. And it hurt business not to have the physical interaction with the buyers and the customers. A lot of people, especially for small businesses and startup boutiques like mine, when you're not a big name brand, or when you don't have a physical location where people can come and try on your clothes, they're a lot more hesitant to buy online because they don't know the quality of what's going to be in your store right away, and they don't want to risk purchasing something and being cheap quality or not exactly what they were looking for. And of course, the biggest issue in our industry alone is sizing. They might buy something that is a size 6 or a size 8, and it might be too big or too small, versus what they usually wear, a 6 or an 8 or a 14 or whatever, in a different type of store. You can buy the same size, pair of jeans from 3 different places, and they can be varying different sizes. So that's where a business like mine or something online has definitely taken a hit. And especially when we were trying to combat that by being at pop-ups and being in person and building the trust with people, it's kind of hurt us in that effect. Many custom designers I know lost a large percent of their prom clients, their graduation clients, their special occasions, weddings, because they were either canceled or postponed. So the custom industry is really struggling as well. Custom garments are a difficult sector to cater to anyway. Custom is a luxury, so anytime the economy takes a hit, luxury items start to decline. I would love to hear who else has been affected by COVID-19 and all these closures, and how you plan to combat that. Also, for you fashion and creative businesses that haven't been affected, what do you feel contributed to that and why you haven't been affected? Or if you've actually improved somehow in your business because of this. I really would like to hear your individual stories of how this has affected you directly. Again, if you have Anchor, you have that voice messaging option to where you can, leave a message directly linked to this episode. I am now on YouTube, so you can leave a comment on YouTube or message me through there. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can find me on those, leave me messages there. I know in previous episodes I've asked you guys to leave me comments, but I'm not quite sure if I told you where you're able to do that. You can also go directly to our boutique. It's vinebranchcollective.com, and you can find our social media links there. So if you wanted to click through and find our social media links. You can connect to us through there, or the website actually has a contact us area, so you can say whatever your comment is. I'm responding to, the podcast on this episode and with this and this and this detail and yada yada. Whichever way you can reach out to me, go ahead and do that, because I really am interested. I know a lot of people in general are struggling from this pandemic. Personally, I feel like I've benefited in a way. I wasn't necessarily struggling before, but I feel that my position in life is a lot smoother, a little bit better. I guess there's a lot less stresses right now because people are more focused on, the pandemic and keeping everything safe. My daughter was in daycare, and, although I like the daycare that she was in, leaving her, and she's, not even 2 yet, leaving her every morning and having her crying because she wants to be with me was very hard. So now at least when I leave to work, she's still sleeping, and, we don't disrupt her and things like that. So in those type of small little, small victories, I feel like we've definitely improved in some sort of way, but business, on the other hand, has been affected. So either way, I would like to hear, what's going on with you guys. Just as the world has changed over the last 100 years, fashion has right along with it, and it will still continue. The next question is how long will it take to come back from this? And how will we come back from this? Like I said earlier, I feel like this is going to be, the futuristic, protective wear that we wear on Mars. So I know everyone's probably laughing at me right now, but that's, I guess this is, instead of an episode, this is more, I guess, like a rant of what's going on in the fashion world and just things I've been observing. But it's really sad. The reason I decided to actually sit down and record this is because of all of the closures that I've seen. Just so many businesses that I've actually looked up to, that I've reached out to people, and whether they knew it or not, I was using them as guidance and mentors and stuff like that. People who were really nice, and genuinely just were friendly people, and fashionable girls that, it just clicked, and, they started selling clothes, and it just worked for them because they were just so friendly and so nice and so stylish that people would just always be around them, to get little tips and tricks, and then they turned it into a business. So, it's really sad to see that after so many years, so many people are closing up shop or having to make drastic changes.
We're now at the end of our episode. If you liked our chat, go ahead and subscribe and favorite this podcast depending on which platform you're using, so you know when the next one is available. If you're using Anchor, you have the option to leave a voice message, so please do. I would love to hear from you. And remember to share with others. Until next time, bye.